So I guess we should start talking about the Ninja Turtles. Now, for those of you that don't know, because you're fucking retarded,
Yeah, what's wrong with
the
you?
Ninja Turtles were created back by Eastman and Laird back in the 80s, right? I'm just double checking that it wasn't even further back than I thought.
It was early mid 80s.
Yeah, because the television show, the cartoon that we all know and love, right? We all know and love.
Yes.
Okay.
Love it.
And it's
Yes.
actually closer to 30 years.
Yeah. Oh God, man, this still throws me off. When people say 20 years ago now, they don't mean.
They mean the 90s.
They mean the 90s.
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
all the mind.
You're
All right.
old.
So, but still handsome as fuck. So that's.
I am
the
quite
best part.
handsome.
You
hear
are.
me?
You are.
I don't
Can
like.
you do this?
Huh?
Is this working?
Yeah, this
Mike,
is
is
working
it?
really well.
Yeah.
So Eastman and Laird, they did some. It was something they were drawing for fun. They borrowed some money from a relative and printed the first issue of the Ninja Turtles, which was black and white, and they all had red bandanas.
Yeah. It makes
So-
it difficult to keep up sometimes unless you actually like read it and you know whose personality is coming
Right, and it
through
was
in
the
bubble.
personalities that came through because they didn't have the belt buckles with the
letters.
on
letter.
it. They didn't have the colored bandana and stuff like that.
They did that because children are stupid.
Yeah, they are. For instance, I locked my son in the little dog cage the other day because he was acting up, and it took him. He didn't figure out how
And
to
the thing
get
is,
out.
his hands are small enough to get through the cage.
Yeah,
So, like, he
they're
could have unlocked it at
really
any
stupid.
point.
So
I'm guessing this is the parenting section of the show.
right,
Yes.
yeah, man, I make deals with them all the time. Like like my wife will cook him dinner, and do you like where I'm going with this? So my wife will cook him dinner, and I'm. For the people at home, I have no wife and no kid. No one's gonna take me home. But
That's the truth.
people don't even know, to be honest, if I really have a dog or a cat at home when I talk about those too.
No,
But,
I'll vouch for those two.
Oh, really?
I really like one of them, and I hate the
I
other
like the
one.
idea of me going home every day after the show after being so zany and ridiculous, and it's just me and my cat having dinner across a candle from each other. That's
Your
my
cat's
lonely,
actually
lonely
cooked.
life. Yeah. Zelda's cooked us a nice tuna fish dinner, and I'm eating it. It's so sad.
Out of the can.
Right. That's classy. So the Turtles. So
Turtles,
anyway,
not cats.
Eastman and Laird created this thing, and it kind of took off as a phenomenon pretty quick. And it's basically about turtles that were mutated into half humanoid turtles, and they know ninjutsu, and they're trained by a large rat. So most people have
A large rat
familiar
who
with
is the reincarnation of a ninja from
only
feudal
in the
Japan.
new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I guess we should start about is some of the bigger differences. Most people, I think, are familiar with the television show from the 80s, and I don't think so many people are familiar with the black and white comic books, which you should check out because in the very first issue, they killed the Shredder. So
Yeah.
it was a lot more violent originally. There was a
Yeah,
lot
a lot
more
darker.
blood.
They don't just kill him; they brutally.
well, they cut off his
execute
arms
him.
and legs, execute him, and then throw him in a dumpster.
It's a
So
little like Star Wars.
yeah,
Yeah, kind of.
So
Except
dark
better and
amputee.
no way connected
No way
to
related
George
at all.
Lucas.
yeah,
so-
well, they're gonna do prequels. Well, they'll ruin everything.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So, but the new ones, what they did was Eastman is in on this, who was one of the writers and one of the co-creators of the show, and so IDW has picked up a new run of the Ninja Turtle series. Now, to do it, they've rebooted a lot of stuff. Most of the Turtles' personalities kept the same. Leonardo's still the leader. Michelangelo's the party dude. Donatello's
still the best.
The science guy that's debatable.
Best.
And
I'll debate it.
Raphael is still a badass.
Right, and if you don't know, Leonardo's the one with the blue, Donatello's the one with the bow staff and purple, Mikey's the orange and the nunchucks, and Raphael's the best one, objectively, with the size. So, there we go. There's another
I
picture
love
of
that.
him.
Look how happy they look.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is in the...
Especially
Rose.
since he's been cut in half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Donatello.
Well, he's coming out of the sewer. He's
No,
got
but
sewer
the
head
best
on
part
him.
is to not look at it like that. Look at it like he got cut in half and he's sitting on the ground.
He's still going.
So, right.
It's fine,
Still
guys.
going. Now, they did do a reboot of the cartoon back in the 90s. I think it was...
They've done multiple
19
reboots of that.
Well, yeah, but I think the other more popular one that some kids would be more familiar with is the Back from the Sewers one they did back in 1997, which was okay. I didn't hate it, but they definitely made them more modern. They took all their logos off. They had the bandanas, but everything looked more hip. And the only great thing about not the only great thing, but one of the nice things about that is the series finale of that one was a crossover between the 80s Turtles and they time jump and they meet the Turtles from the 80s.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that episode?
didn't. I'm in
Oh
total
man, it's
awe.
called
I
Turtles
didn't.
Forever, and it's
No.
the single greatest thing. They
Because it's not them. It's like an alternate timeline.
yeah, it's an alternate
then.
timeline,
So-
and actually all the new Turtles are jealous that everybody has the belt buckles with their initials. They're like, well, how come those guys have their letters on their belt buckles. We don't have that.
That's pretty cool.
And it's great because they got the old voice actors from the original Ninja Turtles, and they got the new voice actors in the studio. And so it's actually the guys doing the original. And the guy who did Raphael does Donatello now. And they even make a couple of jokes about how Raphael and Donatello sound alike.
Oh, cool.
Is the two. So, of course, April O'Neil, my first crush on a cartoon character. But
That's cute.
So let's talk
Have
about-
you ever cosplayed as April O'Neil?
No,
With the
I've
red
thought
hair,
about
I
it
think that you
numerous
could.
times.
I think that you could pull it off pretty easily.
Because it's just a simple jumpsuit. I've got the boots already and the belt.
There you go.
So maybe.
So, get on that, please, for the good of mankind.
Yeah, please. And okay, so the original one, the original cartoon especially, the original comic books were very graphic. The original cartoon was very playful. It was definitely aimed at kids. So the foot was changed from actual human being ninja soldiers into robots, which is, as everybody knows, if you switch on robots, you can kill all of them you want. Nobody feels guilty, right? So
basically, they wanted Leonardo to be able to cut things in half.
Yeah, and that's real important
for Raphael to be able to stab.
And
things.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
So, but they also had like the turtle blimp, and they Schumachered it up a little bit. It went, for the cartoon, it went from a serious take on like the Ronin samurai warrior type, which originally that's what it was. It was like a very Kurosawa type thing. The cartoon tried to make it more marketable to people. Now, of course, then you had the movies. They were done by Jim Henson, and those were just amazingly dark. The first one especially.
One of the few times I will say that a sequel was better than the original.
Really?
I really like the sequel.
See, I still like the original better, but I enjoy the sequel.
Yeah, I mean, they're both great in my opinion.
And Vanilla Ice is in the second one singing Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go.
I just like Super Shredder, played by the wrestler Kevin Nash.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But as you can see on the screen right now, the Jim Henson Company did the turtle suits, and at the time, those were just they really still are amazing works. Yeah. So the turtles have really gone through different different iterations, and they've gone from being a serious take on Japanese samurai life to a whimsical play on cartoons. To a real life drama, because let's face it, the Ninja Turtle movie was a drama.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great ass kicking film, but
what did you think about the rebooted one that came out a couple years back?
I didn't see that one. The
animated,
the 3D one. That's the only Ninja Turtle thing I haven't seen.
Oh, you should definitely check it out. It's worth a look.
By the way, I want one of these.
Why don't we have those?
I don't know.
I mean, for this show especially, we should all be wearing one.
But I mean, you can see they've spawned. Over the last 30 years, they've spawned. Hats, t-shirts. I mean, they're. Well, look at this, a guitar.
All right, that's a sweet-ass guitar right there. So
very popular, obviously very marketable. They make great action figures. And, Eastman and Laird have been doing just fine. So I was really interested because after the original comics, and Eastman helped out a little bit on the original cartoon in the 80s, there hasn't really been, the creators have pretty much stayed away from it for a while. Well, this reboot by IDW has Eastman coming back on, writing a lot of the stories. But there's some noticeable changes that I'll be honest, I think work for the better. They're trying to get back a little bit to the grittier. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get back to more of the drama stories. Whereas one thing I liked about the cartoons in the 70s was that they did have a story arc. I'm sorry, in the 80s, then the 20s was when they all wore top hats and they were all dapper. And
that would be yeah.
But
do a noir episode.
Do a noir episode. But they actually did that with Donatello one time when he was a detective in the early 90s ones. But They're trying to get back to kind of find a balance between playful and gritty. And I think the new series does it really well. The art is fantastic in it.
It's very dark and moody, considering most of the turtle world takes place at night.
They
still in sewers.
Yeah, so. it still has a playfulness to it, but it is really dark and moody. And I think and the lady who's doing it, she's pretty good so far. I've enjoyed her art.
Because the comics, even done after the cartoon got popular in the 80s, they had Ninja Turtle Adventures, and they were the same type of playful, witty, wisecracking, party guys, and essentially that's kind of what they were. They were whimsical, and I really enjoyed the take back to the harsher tones. For instance, let's start actually discussing the differences now between most of the the canon of Ninja Turtles and what the new one is doing. And for the most part, we'll leave out the original black and white stories because most people still haven't read those. Most people don't know them. And that actually disappeared so quick once the whimsical form came on.
Right.
But the new versions, first of all, start out with a couple hundred years ago that there was a family, and it was Hamato Yoshi, and he has 4 sons. And they're executed by Rokasaki.
Yes.
So the new turtles are somehow supernatural reincarnations of a family that was executed in feudal Japan. And in this one, they play a lot on the feudal Japan mythology, and there's lots of flashbacks. So instead of just being, oh, these are the turtles in present day time, there's lots of flashbacks to their lives as actual human beings hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And the morals and the lessons are very much more Eastern than the westernized American playfulness. And well, Jay, what are some of your favorite differences? Like, for instance, it starts now with when the turtles are created by the Ooze, Raphael is separated from them.
Yep, that was, well, all right, some of my favorite parts about this are the fact that they tie the turtles more closely with Dimension X and Baxter Stockman, because the turtles and Splinter, they were originally being experimented on by April O'Neil, who is no longer a reporter. She's a intern working for Baxter Stockman.
Right. The original origin story was she's a newspaper reporter. They're just turtles, and Hamato Yoshi fled Japan. And they got ooze on them in the sewer.
And then things happen. But in this one, Splinter is, he's been experimented on.
He's a lab rat.
He's a smart lab rat already. And then they get transformed even further by a mutagen. An
intentional mutagen, as opposed to one that just was having to be created, got dropped. They're actively, in Baxter Stockman's lab, they're actively working on creating these.
Oh, and for those of you out there who don't know, Baxter Stockman is a reoccurring villain and sort of a nemesis who blames a lot of the troubles in his life on the turtles and his failure to capture them, experiment on them, and complete his scientific work.
Right, and in the original work, he was just some guy that the Shredder found.
He made ray guns, basically.
Yeah, and in this one, he's an active creator of the Ninja Turtles. They made him black in this one because that's really popular nowadays. And they made a
really
after the whole black as a person or black.
Well, they figured after that whole Donald Glover Spider-Man thing, they were probably like, we just better appease.
Donald Glover would have been a badass.
We don't want him rising up, so let's appease the blacks by changing one character over to a black guy.
Way to go, comic book universe. Very progressive of you.
Well, there's the new. We'll talk about this later, but the new Green Lantern is.
Yeah, we'll get to that another time. This is Ninja Turtle time.
That's a whole hour on its own.
Well, it's green, so it kind of ties in. Yeah. But anyway. So Baxter Stockman, but what's great is they took all these characters that have been canonized over the years by happenstance, and they're tying them in together into a solid origin story.
Yeah, they've created a much more cohesive story and more of a reason for them to keep running into each other and interacting with each other.
Right.
And one of my favorite issues, actually, is when Donatello goes to a science convention and he meets this guy who it turns out they would troll each other on the internet.
Yes, that was the Donatello micro series.
Yeah, and Donatello winds up having to save his life from Baxter Stockman, and Stockman is just like stark raving mad. He's like, oh shit, it's one of the turtles. Drop everything else, get this turtle. And like it shows just his psychosis over these walking, talking turtles. And he can't explain it to most people because, if you try to tell the authorities there's human-sized talking turtles in the sewers, your ass is going to a mental ward.
Well, what's great is one of the things I really liked is that always Raphael has been represented as the outsider of the group. In the movie, more complex. In the movie, he's the one that's beaten unconscious, and the other turtles have to take care of him, and he's like unconscious throughout the movie. But he's always the one with the angst, the anger, the one that doesn't fit in. And they finally gave him a reason for that in this series.
I do like that.
When the mutagen finally got on the turtles, he was separated from the rest of them by a new villain,
Mr. Hobb.
Old Hobb pulls him away.
Which is another old name for the devil.
Right, and I did like that reference. But Raphael's pulled away, and so the turtles, until they become teenagers, are essentially without Raphael.
But they know that he's supposed to be there.
Right, exactly.
Their big quest in the beginning is find Raphael.
And I like that in the originals, all of them, like we talked about, wore red bandanas. But, of course, in the newer ones, they wear color. And they had this great idea. Yeah, pizza, there you go. But I love the idea that they pay an homage to that by, when it first starts off in the new series, all the turtles wear red. And that's in honor of their lost brother. Mm-hmm. So all the Ninja Turtles are wearing red. Raphael, who grows up on the street alone, meets Casey Jones, which always shows why Casey Jones and he always got along better as the disgruntled people. There was never really a reason for that. Well, now they bonded for a while the other turtles, and it's a great dynamic about showing how Raphael and Casey are the outsiders of the group. Yeah. But Raphael has no bandana, and the other three wear red. So I like it. That's back to the origin story of they all look alike.
And that's why Raphael adopts red, because once he finds them and they can, no longer pay tribute. It's like, well, I guess red's my color.
Yeah.
Right, and he takes it. Now, and that was my favorite. I actually teared up when I read the Christmas issue of this, where Splinter gives them all of their gifts, and it's the same time that they pull in Raphael. They find him on the streets. And as a gift for Christmas, now that their brother has been returned, Raphael gets a red bandana.
Oh, so haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, it's so nice. Great. Yeah. Okay, he gets.
No,
they give him a red bandana so that now he's part of the family, and then Splinter gives the other turtles their present, and it's the other color bandanas. Nice. So it was nice for just like 2 pages. Raphael gets brought up. They're all 4 wearing red bandanas, and then they roll over into the new generation of turtles of all of them, and it was just so wonderfully, honestly touching that they cared enough about the story to pay a tribute to the original, pay tribute to where they're going, and to bring Raphael into the group, and then move on from there.
Oh, and just to further tie everything together, April O'Neil is Casey Jones's tutor. They go to the same college.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't gotten there yet either. I am liking what they're doing with Casey Jones about how, Raphael runs into him and the whole story with his dad and all that stuff.
But they give Casey Jones a reason to be angry as well as
and the reason he's so tough is because he was abused constantly.
Exactly. Right. He was able to do it. And then a little bit of his backstory. Well, if you're so tough to do all this, I like that conversation, well, then why can't you step up to your dad, and pretty much kick his ass for always kicking yours.
And what's great is if you ever read this, especially the comics from the 90s, the actual comics, is they're whimsical, they're playful, they're silly, and they're about having fun and selling merchandise first and foremost.
Yes.
Merchandising.
That's
merchandising.
Merchandising.
So and then so when they did the reboot, I was like, well, are they going to try to make it super realistic? And they do, but they also keep a lot of the playfulness in the sense that Mikey's a little wisecracking, but even the villains like Hob and stuff like that, and not alopecia, which is
but the skin disorder,
not Apostolos. What is the other cat, the female cat that's the new character? She has a weird name. I can't possibly think of it.
I haven't gotten
but
there yet.
I like they don't even reveal the Shredder in the first one. They actually let it build up to it. But so overall, it's a great redo. It's like somebody finally took the time to take all of these different versions and say, okay, let's make a cohesive universe that these characters live in.
Which you can only really do with one of the original creators.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gutsy move to try to reboot something that's been such institutionalized.
Yeah, but it's also been so all over the place. I mean, from 2 and you could argue 3 or 4 movies, but really, the first 2 gritty, serious, dark dramas. A whimsical cartoon show, whimsical comedies. A black and white, homage to Kurosawa and Japanese culture. That's a lot to work together, and this one really puts it all together. It ties up loose characters, and when you talk about a reboot, this is the type of reboot I like to see, where it's everything that you liked about all the different versions of the Turtles finally cohesively put together where fans can enjoy. So real fast, though, I do want to talk about this Infestation one real fast. IDW does, like every other comic book in the world, they have to have a reason for it to tie into other titles occasionally. So they can do crossovers, and theirs is the Infestation where the universes occasionally mesh. And I haven't had a chance to read these.
I haven't either.
And so, but Tavita has. So tell us a little bit about the Infestation.
I did. I read the first 2 issues so far. I think that's all that's in there. And pretty much it starts off with Donatello, which of course is my favorite. Him and his sciencey ways. All these different, storms are coming. People are disappearing. And there's starting to be more appearances of, humanoids that are getting reported. And so they're starting to freak out and think maybe more people are starting to realize that, they're down in the sewer. Pretty much where the storyline's going is there's these different monsters, and Donatello's looking at these 1920s, stories and charts towards something that was happening back in 1920s is starting to, reemerge and resurface nowadays. And so they think they're safe in this tunnel, and all of a sudden, the power goes out, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And so they actually go into this part of the sewers where they've never been before, where they had no idea it was there. And so there's all these different, rats that are being mutated, as well as, other parts of, I think, some squids and something else. You don't really know exactly what's going on yet because it's still new, but there's something else that's in the sewer with them that's getting mutated. And so
And this is only 2 issues in,
Yeah,
right?
it's already 2 issues in, and it's having to do a lot with something that happened in the 1920s, some sort of cult even. Okay. So we don't really know exactly what's going on yet. But the last issue I read, it showed Donatello getting separated from the bunch and getting pulled underwater into a whole nother part of the sewer that they didn't even know existed. And so, it seems pretty cool. I can see where the infestation part is because there's apparently supposed to be all these other humanoids that are going to be coming out of the sewer
Right.
that they didn't know exist. So it seems like it could be something cool for them because, you know, here they are thinking they're sheltered and completely blocked off.
I'm watching Jedi pull up Ninja Turtle dubstep.
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted.
So no, we might be that needs to play during the next break if we can possibly do that.
Nice.
But
I think I think it's gonna be pretty interesting to see because I think where they're going with this is to say, hey, there's not just like Ninja Turtles that are in this sewer. There's actually a whole bunch more to this particular sewer that was used in like occult sacrifices maybe and some sort of like previous practices of this particular ooze / humanoid / section of the sewer.
well, that's fine. Now I'm going to go read that. Okay, so let's get a rating on this real fast. Jay, you've read? No, I guess I should say there are 13 issues in, so it's been going for a full year now. It came out September of last year, and from the first issue, I was pretty happy with it. But now a year later, Jay, what's your opinion?
I think it's gold. I think that if you like comic books, I mean, people around our age, of course we know Ninja Turtles, but even, kids these days, they're serious enough that it's good, but it's not like overly dark.
Yeah, as a 30-year-old
and
adult, I'm enjoying the story. I'm not just enjoying the Turtles.
A child could read this. I'm not saying read it to your 5-year-olds. It could really, confuse the hell out of them. But I really think this is a great book for everybody. I think they're doing a great job with the story. It is more story and character driven than a lot of comics that are out there now, where it's just like, all right, now we have to gear up for a big fight and punch something. Instead of just having everything be about a fight, it's about the characters and what's going on with them. And so I highly recommend it. I think it's excellent.
Taff?
I haven't gotten nearly as far as you guys
As
have.
a female, what do you think about this?
As a female, I think it's actually, I'm really enjoying it. I like the different take on April O'Neil from her not being, with the film. She's more of kind of a sciencey, techie person. Again, I haven't gotten nearly as far as you guys have, but so far I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the little chains that have been done. At first I was, kind of like on the fence about, I don't want to see another reboot-ish type, comic, but with Eastman being on this particular
That's the thing that got me willing to try it.
He's got a lot of input that he's, putting out there. So I'm enjoying it. I would probably give it like an 8 out of 10.
Oh, very nice.
4 out of 5.
John, as somebody who hasn't read the new comics, what do you think about it?
I have not read them, but I do remember the movies from the 80s. And Spice Baby Guy. What was his name?
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice.
Doing the ninja rap.
Spice Baby. Now, see, that's a crossover. Spice Girls and Vanilla Ice. I want to see now. You just came up with gold right there, buddy.
That I do remember that movie from back then in the 80s, and I enjoyed it. And I do remember the Ninja Turtles when they first came out. I'm a lot older than you. Well, not that much older, but I'm older than you guys. And I remember when it first started. You said you're almost a 30-year-old adult.
Yeah.
You
31.
You were probably just born when they came out.
Yeah, I remember when the series, the cartoon series aired. I was about 6 or 7 already.
Yep.
But yeah, I read the comics.
I thought it was
later.
good. I remember some of the characters you guys were talking about. Casey Jones, always liked his character. Mm-hmm. If I was gonna pick an actor to play him, it would be the guy from Boston, the one who just did the Ted movie.
That
Mark
would
Wahlberg?
actually be pretty good. He does have an explosive,
Mark
violent
Wahlberg.
personality,
Yeah.
and I actually like him in a lot of stuff.
I really
That's
like
actually
him
a good
in-
idea.
Yeah.
If I was going to pick somebody to do that character, it would be him.
That would be a good
I
idea.
think he pulled
really.
off really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that actually.
Yeah.
So.
I would go with George Takei as Donatello. That's
Oh,
my.
Yeah.
So, well, I got to say, as the host, whose opinion means more than anybody else in the show, that I give it either a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. As in, when I walked into something that I wholeheartely love. I mean, I have been a Ninja Turtle fan. I had all the action figures when I was a kid. I had the little bus or the turtle van. I even had the blimp. I had Ninja Turtle sheets. I have the Ninja Turtle shirt now at 31 years old. So
Merchandising.
I owned every video game they had. Oh, I was a sucker. My dad actually made me Ninja Turtle weapons when we were a kid. We have a manufacturing shop when we were kids. He made me a bow staff, a katana sword, sais, and nunchucks.
That's cool.
And I had them hanging on my walls, and I even bought all the little patches and made my own. And I even made myself a robe, a Ninja Turtle robe, when I was like 8. I sewed it together when I was 8. With the shell pattern on back and the Ninja Turtle logo right here.
I wish you still had that.
I do, actually. It's packed away. And if I can find that, it only comes down to like half down my crotch now because I was a little kid. But I'll wear that on the show.
You should definitely wear that.
He saves it for sexy times.
Yeah. So
Poor
Carol gets a treat
Poor
out of that.
Carol.
Yeah, so I've been a fan from the beginning. It's one of my absolute favorite franchises ever. It's like up there with Legend of Zelda with me. And I have thoroughly enjoyed what they're doing with this. And I've seen some bad takes on it before. I used to be subscribed to the Ninja Turtle magazine in the early 90s.
Oh my.
Had 14 issues before they canceled it. But
Love it.
so, yeah, I give this a 10 out of 10, especially for, wow, this beer's really good. This is pretty good. But especially as a reboot, well, to celebrate, we had beer and pizza today for the Ninja Turtles. But
true.
I would definitely say that this is, especially if you're a Ninja Turtle fan like me, this is something you need to pick up and you need to add to your collection and you need to read. They're going to start wrapping one of the major story arcs in the next 2 issues, so you can wait till the hardbound edition comes out. But it'll be worth it. I mean, definitely grab it.
I like to grab the hardbound ones myself.
I like to grab anything hard.
I like to grab the hardbound ones too.
Hey, so Del, I gotta ask, man. So what's the deal with these pictures?
Those are just, I grabbed those because we saw some of the other costumes come up. But this is about 2 or 3 years ago. These came out. Here, John, you might want to.
That's ridiculous.
Now, people may also know I like Ninja Turtles a lot, but I love me some boobies as well. And I hate to say this, but there's a good chance that at some point in the past I touched myself to that picture. But Ninja Turtles and females in sexy, shiny clothes.
I wish they would have painted themselves green. Just go
There was another one that I didn't put on here where these girls did paint themselves green and dress, and it was not sexy at all. It was really creepy looking.
I've seen some cosplay April O'Neils that are just.
Oh yeah. Well, first
you said
cartoon
you wear
crush.
costumes, right?
I do.
Would you wear one of those?
No, I would make my own.
Well, no, oh yeah, that's the other thing. She makes her own. So I also give those girls a 10 out of 10.
Yes.
So
I give them a 10 out of 10 for pretending to know what they're
for
doing.
pretending to know what they're. Yeah, I doubt
Pretending
any
to
one
know
of
how to
those
hold that bow
bitches
staff.
had read a comic.
Exactly.
What are we dressed as? Lizards?
Yeah. Oh, I like the lizards.
The new thing from Spice Girls.
I like the voice. So
That's my most effeminate.
I'm assuming that's the Michelangelo version of the girls. So, and okay, so yeah, I'm 10 out of 10. You need to go and check these out. We're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna be talking with John Bragg of Starstruck, another show on the station here, and we're gonna be talking about stand-up comedy. So we'll see you in just a few minutes. Enjoy the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle dubstep that we found.
Oh, that's great.
You'll learn the real truth about how 4 ordinary household pets became wisecracking amphibians. Pizza-loving amphibians. Amphibians.